Hello everyone, it's Ranger at 64, and welcome back to another League of Legends lore reading video. Today, we will be reading The Lost Tales of Ornn by Matt Dunn. I have never seen the Forgotten God. My grandmother told me these tales, but she had never saw the Forgotten God either, nor did her grandmother before her, or hers before her, 1,000 times over. His legends endure only today around crackling fires and meals of roasted fish. The further back we trace our ancestors, the truer the tales become. The children's weary faces lift a little higher. Firelight dances on their cheeks, but pain lives in their eyes. Gods dwell around us, the sky, in between the clumps of soil, and behind the veil of the stars. We need only to seek their favor, to channel their being into our hearts and deeds. For instance, on the sea, it is so cold that your eyeballs might freeze solid in their sockets. No, it's true. But when sailors rub rubber and blubber on their faces and think about the seal sister, whose true name is forgotten, they are protected from icy ocean winds. Others, such as the Volibear, refuses to allow their own legends to fade, and still stalks this world. He demands sacrifice and forces obedience, much like the Earth sign. They have all heard tales of the half-bear abominations. Fear makes the children lean closer to the fire. Oh yes, little ones. We may speak later of the bear-skinned Stormbearer, but the less said about him, the better. Like grandmother used to say, once they lean closer to the fire, they are yours. Instead, these stories concern the firstborn of the gods. Chapter 1: The Shaping of the Land. Ornn was the firstborn of his brothers and sisters. He leapt into the world itching for a fight. This was not so easy, however. Trees were weak adversaries, snapping far too easily. Icebergs melted at his touch, running away into the sea. Frustrated, he punched a mountain. The mountain did not yield. Ornn was pleased by this, so he challenged the land itself to a good-natured brawl. As Ornn wrestled with the land, he dented and bruised it, shaping all of the Freljord that we know today. He head-butted the mountains from the plains and pounded down deep valleys. When he was tired, Ornn thanked the land for the glorious match. The land responded by opening a fiery pit, showing him its very heart. He was honored to see it was a reflection of him, a fiery ram. The land had deemed Ornn worthy and bestowed its secrets to him, gifting him the strength of primordial flame, for fire is the true agent of change. He looked at the landscape that was the result of his fight and nodded. It would do so. After this, Ornn set himself to building tools and weapons. My ancestors must be feeling happy and smiling, for at this moment, a light snow begins to fall. Gentle flakes settle on the children's furred hoods, and they stuck out their tongues to give them a taste. Did you know that there used to be no snow in the Freljord? I asked them. The children looked confused. It's true. Our lands have always been the coldest in the entire world. But in the early days, there was only bitter, dry air and no such thing as storm clouds. The Origin of Snow. Chapter 2. It was during the early cloudless and cold days that Ornn built a house. He made it out of the finest lumber, magnificent home expanded 3 valleys. Can you imagine that? After completing his majestic horn hall, Ornn praised his work. Good, he said. These were the days before language, so this was a compliment indeed. Now, his older sister Anivia was annoyed. Ornn had felled her favorite perching trees to build his home, so she decided to teach him a lesson. While Ornn was deep in sleep, she flew through his bedroom window, and she tickled his nose with one of her feathers, causing him to sneeze a gout of flame that set fire to the bed sheets. The bed sheets were setting the floor ablaze. Anivia panicked and flapped her wings to fly away, but this only stoked the fire hotter with the dry air of the Freljord. Soon, all of Hornhall was alight. The fire raged for days, darkening the skies with ash. Of course, Ornn slept through it all. He awoke atop a pile of ashes with a very bad mood, for he had had not a restful sleep. But he did not know what Anivia had done, and to this day she had never told him the truth. I complimented my own handiwork, and look where it got me, said Ornn, surveying the damage. And never shall I again will pat myself on the back. I shall let the quality of my work speak for itself. Ornn had one goal in particular for his next home. He did not want it to be flammable. He fashioned himself a spade, a lever, and a fork, for with these tools he could dig for one ore, moving mighty pillars, and eat the delicious spiced cherries so he enjoyed. He hammered the shape and chunks of ore until a black mountain stood. Inside was a great forge that channeled the primordial molten flame from the deep within the earth's heart. He was pleased with his hearth home, but it was too hot to dwell comfortably, even for Ornn himself. So he dug a trench from the sea, straight to the mountain. The Seal Sister allowed cold waters to rush through the trench and cool the hearth home. Great plumes of steam rose up. It took nearly 3 days for the mountain to cool enough for Ornn. In that time, the ocean that fed the river dipped several inches. By then, so much steam had risen from the waters that the petrol blue sky was molten with darkening gray clouds. As these new puffy forms gathered and cooled, they grew heavier and heavier until they burst with snow. It snowed for 100 years. This is why the Freljord is still in so much snow to this day. One of the children frowns at me. If Ornn did so much for this world, then why is it only you who knows the stories about him? The girl is young, but this has already been through hardships since her hair has several shocks of silver running through. There is one tale that answers this very question. Would you like to hear it? Children's eager faces says it all. I continue to tell multiple tales of the forgotten Forge God.